Hi guys, thanks for joining me today. I'm Marilyn. On this video, I'm going to show you how I made this really cute project. Now I made this on a Dollar Tree cutting board. I used Oracal 651 matte permanent vinyl, and then I used a sublimation image that I printed out on this text print art paper. And for this project, this brand of paper is important, and I'll tell you more about that during the video. Now, if you like the video, please give me a thumbs up. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, leave them in the comment section below. And as always, please consider subscribing. Also, for all the products that I use in the video that I have links for, I'll post those in the description below. Now, just recently, I've seen all over YouTube a TikTok sensation called Spiral Betty. So I was really interested to see what it was. And my YouTube feed mainly showed me Cricut videos of people using vinyl. But I thought, what about printing that on sublimation paper and then adding it to one of my obsessions, Dollar Tree cutting boards. So that's what I'm going to do. Now, you go to spiralbetty.com. As long as you're not selling your items, this is a free service. If you need a commercial license, you can purchase that. I'll click on Upload Image. And then I'm going to upload the Joker. So I'll choose that. Now I can move him down, I can make him larger. That allows me to center his face a little bit more. Let's make him just a little bit larger. Okay, so right here where these lines meet, that's going to be the center of your image. So I'm going to go ahead and check mark that I like it. And then there's all these different colors, and then you can also have the rings further apart, but that's really hard to see the picture. So I'm going to turn it up all the way. So look over here, all these colors you can use. So let's just try a few. That's just basically black and white, maybe grayscale. That one's pretty cool. That's nice. But what I used is right here. So I'm going to go ahead and say, let's download that. And then I'm just going to save that as Joker Spiral Betty. Okay, so I can go ahead and click out of that. Okay, now I want to go to my desktop and find it. And then I'm going to go ahead and open that in Photoshop. You wouldn't have to do this step, but I want to show you what I did to it. Okay, so the first thing that I want to do is go up here to Image and Adjustments, and I'm going to bump up the contrast. So I bumped it all the way up. I'll say OK. It didn't do a whole lot, but it did a little bit. Then back to Image, Adjustments, and right down here to Vibrance. So on this screen, I can play with the vibrance and the saturation. So I just kind of play with them a little bit. Notice how that got a little brighter. And then the saturation should deepen the colors. Okay, let me go back down just a little bit. Okay, I like that, so I'll click OK. Then the last thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and change my image size. And I'm going to print this at 8.2 inches. I want it just slightly larger than my cutting board. And then I'm going to go ahead and bump up the resolution to 300. Okay, it looks huge on my screen, but let me go ahead and print it and see what happens. I hit Command P for print, and it's set to print to my sublimation printer. It looks like it fits within the boundaries. So I'll go ahead and I'll just click print. Now on these cutting boards, because you are adding this to the bottom side of your glass, and I'll show you that in just a bit, you don't need to mirror your image. So I'll go ahead and print that. And it's just giving me a little warning. I'll just say, okay. I do want to bump up the quality. And now I'm ready to print. Here's my sublimation printer, and today I'm going to use this text print R paper. Now this is more expensive and I only use it on my cutting boards. The reason I use it on the cutting boards is it pulls off without you having to wash off and scrub excess paper backing. When I made my first cutting board, I used a different paper, and then when I peeled it off, there was a lot of the backing of the paper left that I did have to wash off and rub off, and the text print comes right off without having to do that. This is an Epson EcoTank 2760. It's an inexpensive printer that I got at Costco. So you put your paper in between the paper guides and it's ready to print. Now on this paper, the text print, the back side is easy to distinguish because its logo is on the back side. Now it's pretty faint, so you might not be able to see it, but it is on there. So on this printer, you put the blank side to the front. Then there's a paper tray here that I can pull out so it will catch my paper as it's printing out. I always get a warning that the paper type doesn't match my settings, and I just click OK, and then I have to confirm that I want it to print. Here's my Dollar Tree cutting board. So the first thing I need to do is just get this plastic off, and then after I get the plastic off, I want to remove these feet. So use whatever you need to get these off, but I like to just use this little spatula. Then you can pull them off with your finger. And then what I like to do is I like to store them sticky side down on a Teflon sheet. Now there is a lot of residue left on this, so the next step is remove this in whatever fashion you want to. You can use some warm water and dish soap, alcohol. In my case, I'm going to start with this label remover. That'll get a lot of it off, and then I will have to go into the kitchen sink and remove the rest of the residue with some warm water and soap. Okay, that's a good start, but there's a lot left. So let me go clean that off and I'll be right back. Okay, so here's the basic steps to our process. Here's the cutting board. The rough side is on top and then your smooth side is the bottom. We'll adhere the vinyl to the back side. Then you put your picture under it. You add heat to it. And the picture comes through your vinyl. So it's a pretty cool process. Now you can see I made my image just a little bit larger. I wanted to kind of get rid of some of this blank blue also by making it a little bit larger. I'll be able to know where to put my cutting board later, because later with the vinyl on you won't be able to see through it. Okay, so it's time to adhere our vinyl to the back side of the cutting board. I've done it dry method, I've done it with transfer tape, and I will tell you the easiest way I've found to do it is use this rapid tack. I've kept it in the plastic liner so if it drips into the plastic. I added some of that just to an Ace Hardware pump spray bottle. So the instructions tell you to clean your surface with the rapid tack twice. Since I just washed my glass in the kitchen, I'm just going to do it once. Then we're going to remove our vinyl. This is the sticky side of the vinyl. And we're going to spray the rapid tack right on top of that. It doesn't take a lot, but I do want to make sure that it's all the way to the outside. Now I'll just turn it over and lay it down on my glass. Let me put just a little bit on my glass. Okay, so this rapid tack lets you pull it up very easily to adjust it. It also sucks it down to the glass so you don't have bubbles. When I didn't use this, I had a lot of air bubbles in mine. So I really like this. But in all fairness, I've never used just water or water with a little soap, and I've heard that works also. Okay, now I cut my vinyl with the Cricut. I did a perfect circle at 7.75 inches. I didn't want it to hang over the glass. I wanted it to be slightly smaller than the glass. So the next step is take a squeegee of some type and remove the excess liquid from under your vinyl. And you can see it coming right out from under. And hopefully you can see that is perfectly smooth. There's a little liquid on top, but there are no air bubbles in that at all. Okay, I'm going to let this set for a couple minutes. I'll turn my heat press on. I'm going to start it at 385, and I'll press this vinyl side down for 15 seconds. Okay, while that's heating up, I'm going to go ahead and get this ready. I like to protect the mat that came with my heat press. So I'm going to put a Teflon sheet down and then some blowout paper. And blowout paper just means once we add the ink to it, it's going to protect the mat from getting any extra ink on it. In case the ink goes through your item, which it won't in this case, or seeps around it, that protects your mat. In my case, it's going to protect my Teflon sheet. So I have it vinyl side down, and then because there might be a little liquid in that still, I'll put another piece of paper on top of it. And then notice I have this Teflon sheet attached to the top with magnets. So I'm just going to put this in for 15 seconds. It's set for 90 seconds, so I'll stop it at 75. This step is just to get that vinyl good and adhered to my glass, and try to remove any of the liquid if there's still some in there. Now, because if I were to put this under my glass right now, the sublimation would start because that's so hot. So now I need to let that cool down for maybe about 5 or 10 minutes, and then I'll be ready to move on to the next step. Now, I do have a tile over here, and I think that'll pull some of the heat out of this glass. So I'm going to go ahead and move my glass over to it. Okay, I think that's cooled down enough. So here's my design. And because it's round and it's slightly larger than my cutting board, it'll be easy to place it. But if your design isn't round or it doesn't come all the way to the outside, what you can do is you can take your cutting board before you put the vinyl on it, trace around the outside, and that'll help you place it. Okay, so I need to add my blowout paper back, and then we have the design. Then I'm just going to place my cutting board in the middle of my design. So you can see what I mean. Since my design is round and it's slightly larger, it's easy to see where to put it. Okay, so I'll put a piece of blowout paper on top. If you wanted to tape your board down to your design, you could. You could use some heat-resistant tape. Once it starts heating up, the vinyl becomes like glue, and your paper is going to stick to it. So I don't find that necessary. Now, if my board wasn't a dollar board, maybe I would. But I think that's a step you can skip as long as you're not investing a lot of money into the project. I bumped my heat up to 395. We're going to go ahead and press this for 90 seconds. Now, the glass is still upside down, the vinyl's on the bottom, the design's on the bottom. So we're going to have to do this a few minutes before it'll sublimate. After 90 seconds, I'll go ahead and lift the top plate of the heat press. I'll check out the design, I'll rotate it, and I'll put it back down for another 90 seconds. My guess is it'll take 3 pressings, so 270 seconds, but again, I won't know until I check it. So to check it, you can just remove this top sheet of paper, and you can see it is barely coming through. So we need to do this a lot longer. Now, in case your heat press has any cold spots, what I like to do is rotate it. And I can rotate it by just turning the entire mat. So we'll do another 90 seconds and check it again. Okay, let's see what the progress looks like. Oh, that is much better, but I'm going to do it 90 more seconds. And I'll go ahead and rotate it again. But I am really happy with how that looks. Now, I think I told you earlier, I bumped up the heat to 395, but in case I didn't, now I am. Okay, that is really nice. I'm going to stop with that. Let me show you how that looks. Now you're going to be tempted to want to pull your paper off, and don't do it because the vinyl has become very much like glue, and if you pull your paper off, it's going to stick to the vinyl and you're going to stretch your vinyl, maybe pull some of it off. So I know it's hard, but be patient. Set it aside, work on something else, and come back in about 15 to 20 minutes. It's been about 15 minutes and it is still warm. It's not hot, but it's warm. Let me see if this is going to peel off yet. Oh yeah, that's not a problem at all. Okay, so you just pull your paper off. And there's your image. Now again, you can use other sublimation papers, but most likely you're going to have to scrub the paper off the back. That turned out so cute. Okay, hopefully that'll look better now that I turn that bright light off. So there's my version of a spiral Betty on a Dollar Tree cutting board. Thanks so much for joining me. Until my next video. Bye-bye.